we did ask you a question about constituting the management and board of Bank of Uganda. We issued a report with a recommendation that became a resolution of Parliament regarding the appointment of the governor, which I know is not your duty to appoint, but you advise the appointing authority. Ordinarily, in a Treasury memorandum, you would be writing and informing us through the Ministry of Finance that since you issued that report with the resolution of Parliament, this is the progress. Where is the Governor, Bank of Uganda? That's question number one. And we're not talking about governor as the head of management. We're also talking about governor, who is the chairman of the board. The Constitution provides the authority of the bank shall vest in a board which shall consist of a governor, comma, a deputy governor, and not more than 5 other members. Before we talk about other members who are not here, I've only seen one. Where is the chairman of the board? In other words, without the chairman of the board, in who is the authority vested? You know, your duty is probably to advise and say, sir, where is the person I deputize? But now you're not deputizing anyone, you're deputizing yourself. Are you acting governor? Please answer.
I'm deputy governor. I'm a deputy governor.
An acting governor.
Chair, you are raising constitutional issues.
Yes.
For which I'm not very competent to answer. I have Director Davis here, who is much more competent on matters of the Constitution and the law. Yes. So, if you don't mind, can I ask him to respond to those questions?
I actually don't mind.
Okay.
Mr. Didas Nkurunziza, board.
Thank you, Chairperson. That is a very pertinent question and which has exercised our minds, at least since I joined the board in 2023. As you're aware, the members of the board of Bank of Uganda are appointed by the appointing authority, of course with the approval of Parliament, the President of the Republic of Uganda. And the board, according to the Constitution, as you correctly point out, consists of a governor, a deputy governor, and 5 members of the board. Now, when this matter exercised our minds for quite some time, we looked at the Constitution and we noted that under Article 161(1), the Bank of Uganda is authority. It is the only authority to issue the currency of Uganda. So we then took comfort in Article 251(2) of the Constitution. Don't know if you wish. Yeah, so it told us, subject to the provisions of this Constitution, any decision of any commission or authority established by this Constitution shall require the concurrence of a majority of all its members, and it may act notwithstanding the absence of any member or any vacancy in the office of a member. On reading this, we understood it to mean that where there may be a vacancy in the board of the Bank of Uganda as it is supposed to be constituted, then this article, at least the framers of the Constitution, recognize that there could be a situation where there is a vacancy in the office. I said 251.
251?
251, 2. 251,
Okay.
2. And we follow that up with the Article 257, sub-article 10. B, which guided us that words in the singular include the plural, and words in the plural include the singular.
251.10.
257,
257.10.
10, B. In the interpretation sections, we
Yeah.
say that words in the singular include the plural, and words in the plural include the singular. So when I went back to 251.2, and it talks of a vacancy in the office of a member, I understood it to be telling me that vacancy also means vacancies. So we believe that the Constitution made provisions for situations where, for whatever reason, there may be a vacancy in the constitution of a body. That is as far as the Constitution is concerned. The Interpretation Act also has similar
Deputy
provisions.
Governor, when did Professor Mtebile die? So he's making a third year in January. In other words, 1 month from today, Bank of Uganda will not have a governor for 3 years. Of course, what I'm going to say, Mr. Nkurunziza, with immense respect, is that you know that what you are telling me, or telling us and the country, is not entirely correct. When they say a fraction of the majority, I mean a fraction of the membership, they refer to the entire membership constituted. Then you can only talk about majority as a fraction of the entirety.
Honorable Chair, from where you and I come from, these are matters we can argue back and forth. And eventually, when we don't agree, it would have to be.
Mr. Nkurunziza, you and I know, so in the matter of the Honorable Sam Kahamba Kutesa,
Correct.
the Honorable Nasasira,
Correct.
and the Honorable Mwesigwa Rukutana, regarding the composition, actually the word used is constitution, of the Inspectorate of Government. What did the Constitutional Court say?
Chair, you are correct, Professor. In fact, I and the late Dr. Biamkisha and other counsel are the ones who crafted that argument, which the Constitutional Court eventually accepted.
Were you right?
I'm coming to that.
No,
I was right.
Were you right?
I was right.
Okay.
And what was that case about? That case was the interpretation of Article 230 of the Constitution. And that is about special powers of the Inspectorate. Now, when you look at that special powers of the Inspectorate, you will come back to Article 2521(2), and you'll see that it begins subject to the provisions of this Constitution. Article 230 is one such provision to which 2512 is subject. The Constitutional Court, and I have a copy of the judgment here, was specifically looking into that article. And that article talks about the Inspectorate of Government having specific special powers to carry out, given by the Constitution. And it is on that basis that the Constitutional Court was able to conclude, fortunately in my client's favor, that since the Inspectorate at that time only had a Deputy Inspector General, there was no Inspector General of Government, and a second Inspector Deputy Inspector General was not, the offices were vacant. The Constitutional Court held that, therefore, because of breach of Article 230, the prosecution, or the decision to prosecute and take quasi-judicial powers by the sole Deputy Inspector General was inconsistent with the Constitution.
The ratio is about constitution and composition.
The case was about 230 of the Constitution, and that is a standalone because of what 251(2) says, subject to the provisions of this Constitution. Otherwise, were it not for the fact that 230 was specifically about the Inspectorate of Government, then 251(2) would have applied, and the prosecution of those three ministers would have been valid.
So in 2023, you are appointed a member of the board.
Yes.
And you're not bothered that while you are being appointed by the same appointing authority, the same appointing authority cannot appoint a chair of your board.
First of all,
it doesn't bother you.
First of all, I have never thought or held the position that the appointing authority cannot make an appointment. He can. The Constitution empowers him to do so. Why he has not done so, that is not for me to speculate upon. My appointment to the board was for the purpose of coming to
constituting the board.
I do not constitute it by myself. So it is up to the appointing authority and his advisors to decide at what point they want to appoint X, Y, and Z. Now, fortunately, thankfully, I was appointed and I've been doing my best to serve. And this was the very first question that exercised my mind. And my deputy governor will confirm it that I have talked about it on many occasions, trying to make sure that what we're doing.
Have you ever raised it in your board meetings?
It has never been on the agenda. It has never been on the agenda.
So where do you raise it from? Where informal meetings with the deputy?
Here and there.
On your WhatsApp group?
No, we don't have a WhatsApp group. At least not with me.
You're not on WhatsApp. I know you are.
I am on WhatsApp, but there's no group where the deputy governor and myself are members.
Okay. Yeah.
Chair.
Of course, today don't mention about the competence or other raise. Yes, Honorable Swami.
Yeah, thank you. These are our senior, somewhere up there, I know, to help us resolve some of these issues. I think the point the chair is raising, the key word is just one. Do you have a board? Then what constitutes a board? Under Article 161, and I'll rest my case. It's very clear under sub-article 2, shall vest in a board, shall, keyword, and highlighted, shall vest in a board, again you highlight that and put it 2 on top, which shall consist, shall, 3 on top, highlight, shall consist of a governor, a deputy governor, and not more than 5 other members. So, for a board to be constituted, because you are talking about we have been sitting as a board, you've not been sitting as a board, you've been sitting as members of the board, but you don't have authority because the authority is vested in a board, which shall, 2 shalls in one article of a governor as an office, not as an individual. So without the governor, without the deputy governor, without at least one member, you have no board. So when you sit and go under the Act to transact business, which vest and delegate powers to the different officers, including the deputy governor, there must be a board, shall, board, constituted by a governor. So at that level, you stop at that. You don't have to go to now other legislation, competence, appointments, unless there's a board constituted under shall, under Article 161, 2.
I was waiting for a positive answer from the senior legal officer when you asked, has this issue ever surfaced? And when he said, of course, no. I don't know what to say from there. But I thought that this is a very critical matter that at least that could have been placed on the agenda and discussed in their board meetings. Because one, the public is so much concerned about the issue of the governor. Of course, there are so many issues. BOU is one of those critical institutions that play a very pivotal role in our country. So when they hear that the governor is not there for almost now coming to 3 years, and you, the existing administration, is not concerned, put yourself in our shoes. Because everyone, those people can't reach where you are. They come to us and say, why is it that for all this period we don't have a governor? And yet we would think you people who understand the role of a governor, you would be the first people to raise this before the president. To say, Mr. President, we need this person as a team. But if you find it low as it is and you are not concerned, then Mr. Chairman, should I borrow the word disappointed?
No, you don't have to be disappointed. They don't appoint. I only wanted to hear from them, the authority. I know that he needs to be reminded. That I know for a fact. I know that he needs to be advised. That one I also know for a fact. I also imagine, not knowing for a fact, that the deputy governor has a duty to remind the president that there is this vacancy. At least at the point of appointing board members, you cannot forget to whisper, by the way, sir, you have appointed these board members, but there is no chairman of the board. Maybe you enjoying the comfort of his absence. And I'm not judgmental. I'm sure, Deputy Governor, you know that I'm not judgmental. But I'm speculating, maybe you're comfortable. That's why you cannot remind the person who cannot remember. Deputy Chair?
Your term of office is expiring next year in April 2025. So are you comfortable to still be appointed and serve in two positions because you are deputizing yourself and your term of office is expiring next year? So are you comfortable and are you ready to still occupy those two offices?
I think, to be fair, he refused to appoint his boss. Maybe we shall have no governor, no deputy governor. This country has run without a chief justice, at some point without both chief justice and deputy chief justice. You remember when the expired chief justice appointed someone to act as deputy chief justice in expiry. There was a constitutional case which came out of parliament here. So I want to save him that question because it would be speculative. In fact, it is more certain that there will be no appointment than that there will be an appointment. Because it is a prerogative. How it is exercised is a different matter. I would imagine he's still energetic because now appointments are by accident. Not appointing is the new normal. So he will not answer that question. Honorable Itungo?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I raise another issue. Chair, in one of the documents submitted, it is not paged. But Chair, I hope the governor now can see. Chair, this says the Bank of Uganda Board of Directors. And when you look at the members of the Board of Directors, even the bank secretary is indicated there as one of the members of the Board of Directors. So I want to know whether the bank secretary is a member of the board. Remember the article we are reading, 161, talks about 7 members. And Chair, when you count these people here, there are 7, including the bank secretary. But in the same document, there is no governor. And we are questioning the issue of the composition
In
of
other
the
words,
board.
if he had been there,
So if,
there would
he,
be 8.
if the governor would be there, there would be 8 now. That is question number 1, Mr. Chairman.
Maybe the question of numerics is sorted by an additional person.
So this is the next. Now the next is chair. Now when you read the article where we want to define the governor who is supposed to be the chairperson of the board. Now, if they use their word in the absence, now in the absence of the governor, it means that the deputy governor is the governor and at the same time the chairperson. So it means is one person running 4 offices.
There's 1 and 2.
4. The office of the chairperson, the office of the deputy chairperson, the office of the governor, and the office of the deputy governor. So we're going to have a question. How do you manage this?
You want to tell me you don't know that word?
Chair.
Honorable Mwadang.
Because if we are to look into functions of the bank, and Chair, I want to draw your attention to Article 162 of the Constitution, specifically paragraph 2, where the Constitution is very emphatic that even if we are to quote operations and functions of the bank, the Constitution says that in performing its functions, the Bank of Uganda shall conform to this Constitution. And the language of the Constitution is instructive that you must first conform to this Constitution. The language is very instructive. If I buttress Article 161, paragraph 4, the office of the governor, as per this Constitution, and deputy governor shall each be a public office. You can't deputize nothing. So each is a public office. And the governor shall be the chairperson. Now, we cannot live for ages where the deputy governor is masquerading as a governor, as a chairperson, when the Constitution was very deliberate.
Honorable Mwada, proceed with the question without the word masquerading. I do not find it fair.
I take your guidance, Chair.
It is expunged.
But he must also give us a better word. What he's now doing the word? Because otherwise, Chair, my concern is if the board was to exist for a singular day without a governor, their first duty would be to fight that they conform with the Constitution. And that would involve seeking and advising whatever powers that may be to ensure that the board and the bank is regularized in this operation before they could proceed. Otherwise, what we see, the deputy governor is very comfortable without a governor, and probably it is his efforts that the bank is failing to secure a governor. It might be an internal and inside dealing that may jeopardize the whole country as Uganda.
Even on that one, we would be speculating, and it would be a false accusation. I think the right question would be to ask him a positive question. Sir,
what has he done?
What have you done to ensure
conform to this Constitution?
That there is conformity? And the conformity relates, among others,
and who are you before us?
To Article 162, where you are the ugly face of the monster. It's an English phrase that for you carry a cross which is not yours. Sometimes you carry that cross because you have also not carried out your own small cross of telling somebody, sir, I'm deputizing nobody, so who am I? But let's summarize it decently. I understand where Honorable Nkunyinji Mwada and the rest of the members, including myself, are coming from. That there's even a resolution of Parliament urging government. And when the Ministry of Finance writes to you to say, what do we state in the Treasury Memorandum? Your duty is to say, well, I have advised, we have relayed, because when we send you our resolution, it is your duty now to relay it. I hope on that one I'm not wrong. sir, there is this resolution of Parliament. That is if Parliament means anything to you anyway. And he doesn't act. Then for you say, I did my work. With that, I think, is it not time for us to allow the governor, deputy governor, sorry, and his team to respond? Even when you disagree with them, receive their answer.
I'd like to comment on, I had Honorable Sivambi, valid points, yes, but we need to remember, Chair, and of course my colleagues from the bar, that the Constitution is one document, and we have been guided by the courts, the Supreme Court, that we have to read it as one. No article defeating the other. We must make it harmonious. So when we look at 161 and 2, yes, we know, as I said at the beginning, we seriously took that issue into consideration. It is a fact that there has been no substantive governor, but then we have to see.
The Constitution does not have anything called substantive.
Well, okay.
There has been no governor.
That is my word. You're correct. There has been no governor in place. However, you cannot look at Article 161 and 162 in isolation of the article I referred to. We must see how to harmonize them and come to a workable solution. And the workable solution that we came to was that, yes, there's a vacancy in the position of a member of the board, but this Constitution tells us
the Constitution does not refer to him as a member.
The governor is a member.
Chairman.
The governor is a member of the board.
No.
All 7 of them are members of the board.
No, he's the chairman.
I will take your
As we were here, did you hear us introduce ourselves?
Yes.
I did not introduce myself as a member of COSASE. I am the chairman.
Most obliged.
Now, this is chairmanship conferred by the Constitution. It's not even statutory.
We have to look at it as a whole. With regard to the Honorable...
So you're comfortable
with
the status quo?
We would love to have a governor. Yes, we'd love to have a governor. But in the absence of...
yes, you don't close the bank.
You cannot close the
bank.
That
I agree. We're not going to close the bank.
Exactly.
It will continue.
We have to move along as best as we can. And we sought comfort in other provisions of the Constitution. And we leave it to your...
Actually, you did not receive comfort from the law. You only received the pretense.
My Honorable Chair, as Chair, I will accept that you have your views. But as I said earlier, when it comes to debate on legal provisions,
I am sure if this is the case you took to court, you would have the same arguments that I'm having today.
Well, we are lawyers, so we are supposed to be able to argue either side. If I was sitting there, probably I'd be arguing your side.
We only argue things that we believe.
Even more.
In fact, arguing something you do not believe is professional misconduct.
I agree with you.
Under the regulation.
You see, when you convince yourself,
Deputy Governor, please, if you have any.
But just to assure you that, look, the appointing authority knows there's no governor. So to insinuate that he does not know is not correct.
I did not say he doesn't know.
No, you're saying I should be reminding him that he's not governor.
I only said he has forgotten.
I don't think he has forgotten, because every time I talk to him, he calls me deputy governor.
Sure.
Yes.
So that one, he remembers that you're deputy.
Yeah. Otherwise, he'll be calling me deputy governor.
And you're sure he knows you're not deputizing anyone? Or you're still deputizing the deceased?
Look, I'm not going to speculate on that, Honorable Chair. All I know
Why are you speculating that he knows?
Because he calls me deputy governor.
And you know why all of us are laughing? Okay, we will not crucify you for another person's sins. We feel for you.
You ought to know.
We are not there, Honorable Nkunyi. No, listen. Yeah, Mr. Nkurunziza's opinion is faulty or not. I will disallow any judgment that is not subjected to scrutiny and research. We shall again scrutinize and research, and we shall make a comment on Mr. Nkurunziza's opinion.
And the fitness to be on the board.
No, that one is not in the charge sheet.
Because his submission.
We cannot make a finding on his fitness because of an opinion he has rendered. No, we would be atrocious. Okay, the vice chair insists that your contract, your tenure, expires in March, in April next year. And wants to know whether the process of appointment has been kicked off, fearing that we may find ourselves without a governor, without a deputy governor, and with Mr. Nkurunziza becoming acting chairperson of the board. Because there will be a crisis, and we cannot close Bank of Uganda. And yet, when we appropriate money, we appropriate it to the authority called Bank of Uganda. And we have a few months to go. And while we would forgive somebody for not appointing a governor immediately after the death of Professor Mutebile, because nobody knew he was going to die, we are all praying that he lives and he continues serving us. May his soul rest in peace. With the end of your tenure, it is foreseeable. We do not want to go into firefighting mode. When eventually, one, you leave office, then you write a letter, 2 days later, a cheat to say, Margaret Kasule should be acting governor or acting deputy. And then Mr. Nkurunziza should be acting chair of the board. So how prepared are we? Now I'm not asking the deputy governor who may be interested in the position. I'm asking Bank of Uganda.
Honorable Chair knows that my term is coming to an end in April 2025. And he, as the appointing authority, that is his prerogative. I'm therefore not going to talk on his behalf. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think, members, let's just go on our knees. One, that the person who does not remember that Professor Mutebile died and he was occupying a high office of governor, at least remembers that a contract for the deputy governor is about to expire. I do not want to speak where I have no evidence. I therefore have no evidence that the president remembers that your contract is expiring in April. We shall pray that the Holy Spirit reminds him and that it finds him in a comfortable zone where he will receive the reminder and act on it. We closed down on this subject. No, we have closed on this. Or on the photograph?
Yes, Chair, you know we are running a competence-based curriculum now.
He's a staff member and therefore not a member of the board.
After all, it's only a photograph, isn't it? She has not masqueraded. Who is the secretary to the board? Yes, who is the bank secretary? I am not trying to give you an entry point, but I know that the secretary to the board, the bank secretary, is the secretary to the board. So appearing somewhere, you see when they say Kosase is here, and they include the Webi Wile, who is the clerk. So let's look at the next question. We heard you lost some of our money. One, we saw you actually on that occasion, and why I was very quick to grant you leave to go and answer those questions, because they were very, very pertinent to the country, that you lost some of our money to Japan, and some of our money, was it to the US or somewhere? How much money did we lose? And where is it? Ugandans want to know. Oh, and after that, actually, it reminds me on did someone talk about, yeah, okay, yes. About our money. Where is our money? I actually thought you came with some of it, so that we could appropriate it in the subsequent financial year.
Honorable members of this committee, I think you are all aware that this is a matter that is still under investigation by the police CID, and the Auditor General is also undertaking independent investigations. And my response to you is not and should not in any way interfere with their investigations. I'm only going to repeat the facts which I said that, is factual, and they don't interfere with investigation. So beyond that, I will not answer anything.
Procedure, Mr. Chairman. Procedure, Mr. Chairman.
Procedure, Mr. Honorable Swabi.
That in terms of protocol, we are 17 in the country. So the people you're mentioning are really far below the protocol line. 2, CID specifically is under us and under one of our committees. Then the Auditor General actually is under this specific office. So rest assured that whatever you want to say is really protected, and you have the mandate, constitutional and otherwise, to handle this matter. 2, if you feel that whatever you want to tell us as a wind-up, sir, that is a little bit privileged and so sensitive, you can seek for leave, and it is done in camera. Otherwise, you will not just go unsquashed without us handling this. And if it is the decision of the committee, I will oblige because the decision, but personally, there's nothing stopping you now. There's nothing sub judice. So don't take advantage of the situation to hide when you fail to handle this matter. Actually, you should have resigned with your team for you to give way of competent investigation. So don't threaten us, sir, by saying that I'm going to stop. You are not the one to determine what you want to say before us. It is the chair that he's to say, I'm stopping at this. Yes. So procedurally, we are handcuffed.
You should have resigned, because now that is judgmental. He is supposed to give us an answer. Before he gives us the answer,
the framework and mandate of this committee. Chair, our rules of procedure empower this committee with the powers of the High Court. And the judicial system in this country has since cleared that there can be both criminal and civil proceedings moving on at the same time. There can't be any prejudice when the same deputy governor who was cited, and I've seen clips in the media narrating the events surrounding the theft and loss of this money on camera and before the media, to come and appear before this committee and now start playing a denial game, looking for any escape route of not answering specific questions as summoned by this committee. And the same deputy governor had prior requested for more time to attend to this committee. The committee gave him the benefit. He's now before the committee and trying to look for any excuse of not answering. He has the same things you answer before the media related to the loss and theft of this money.
answer the same because you have been summoned before this committee.
What is your procedure issue?
Chair, my procedure issue is if it will be procedurally right for the deputy governor to hide under the cover of other investigation, well knowing that he was also invited for an investigation by a committee with the powers of the High Court to answer the same questions. And we have seen some of his answers loitering in the media. Is it procedurally right?
Okay, good. I will guide as follows. One, because we have not summoned the media, and you know what our rules provide on the media. We are now at the source. So please don't rely on the media. Number two, as you are proceeding, you mentioned the word that the deputy governor has been cited. Ma'am, I wanted to hear from you, other than the media, where he has been cited. You know, the use of the word has been cited could have implications, including that he's a suspect or that he has been mentioned in any formal proceedings. Is that what I understood you to mean?
Chair,
On citing.
Chair, unless he did and gave a detailed account of this, how the money was lost, affirming that the money was lost.
That one is okay.
The presumption that the people who stole our money are these people appearing before us. Now, since he has been cited in the media, as a committee, we have the duty to interrogate them. And they all ask answers, not hiding under the cover of other investigations. They are also investigating, and this is Parliament.
I asked you a specific question because I had...
among those who stole the money.
Who said it?
I've heard it in the media, and he was also trying to explain by distancing himself and mentioning investigation.
Honorable Nkunyenji Muwada, the rank of deputy governor is a dignified person in the protocol of the country. Where we cannot substantiate that he's part of the group that stole the money, I would not allow it on the microphone. So that element should be expunged. Deputy Governor, in answering whether proceeding well, that is Honorable Muwada's question, I will guide as follows. One, do not be apprehensive. Do not be defensive. Everything you have mentioned is not backed by law. But I know it is supported, partly supported by common sense. And for me, applying common sense in this committee is acceptable, is admissible. This is where you went wrong. Defensively saying, I will not mention things that will jeopardize with investigations. That one I will not. First, you are making a ruling on what you can say or cannot say. It is not within your power. That one is ours. What I expected you is to give us answers to the extent of your ability to answer. Then from there, we ask you questions. You get to me and say, oh, Chairman, I think that one would jeopardize investigations. But courts and generally say, I will not answer. Now, that's why it acts procedure very quickly. So, proceed and answer.
When I was starting to make my submissions, I said, I'm going to state facts that I know of. But anything that relates to investigations, I'll be concerned.
Have you taken my guidance?
Yes, I've taken your guidance.
Proceed and answer.
All right. So, Chair, this money, like I said earlier on, or in that press briefing.
We don't refer to any press briefing or any evidence outside this committee.
All right.
We're only taking this.
Okay. The money involved pertain to a debt service payment. Actually, 2 debt service payments, one to the World Bank, IDA, and then the other to African Development Fund of the ADB. The World Bank payment was $6.134 million. $6.134 million, which was instead paid to the Roadway Company Limited. Roadway Company Limited through a bank in Japan, MUFG. MUFG. Yeah. And then the payment of $8.596 million that was meant for the African Development Fund was instead paid to MJS International, London. And the date for this payment was 20th of September, 2024. And I forgot to mention the date, 2024. I forgot to mention the date of payment of the Japan. It was on the 12th of September, 2024. Now, on the 8th of, I think it was the 8th of October, if I recall well, we got an inquiry from the Minister of Finance that, did you make a payment to the World Bank IDA? And we said, no, we did not get any instructions to pay World Bank IDA. And we asked them how much was it. They indicated that it was 6.134. Sorry. So no. Yeah. Yeah. So we got that inquiry, and when they mentioned the amount, we just said, look, we paid the similar amount to Roadway, but not to the World Bank. Said no, that payment was supposed to go to the World Bank. And then we said, but we got instructions from the minister to pay this.
Got instructions from
the minister to pay $6.134 million.
To Roadway?
Yeah, to Roadway.
Okay. Instruction, Ministry of Finance is an abstract thing. From who?
I think it was from the Office of the Accountant General, if I recall well.
Accountant General?
Yeah.
Who did the Accountant General himself?
No, the yes officers.
Yeah. So we want to know.
I don't know the names of the officers.
Sure, you've got instructions in writing.
Look, Honorable Chair, I don't work in the banking department.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Yeah,
it's okay.
but I cannot.
It is a matter now of interest. It should have been a matter of interest to you. That when such a thing has happened, you call for the document. Wouldn't you? To see who gave instructions.
No, I think, Honorable Chair, that would have been. I mean, I will need to refer to the documents.
Okay.
Yeah, because I
that's okay, and I'm only following the story.
Yeah.
So, from Accountant General's office, you will avail us that document. A copy of the document that gave instructions to the bank. In writing, you will send it to the clerk by close of business on Friday. No, you see, don't stampede the Deputy Governor. I have already guided. He will give it to us on Friday. No? Not today. When I said Friday, it's the latest. When I say bye, you can even say I have it here. Let's do Friday.
So, Chair, and so that's when we checked, and then I did instruct our internal audit department to immediately look at it. First of all, to look at whether the processes in Bank of Uganda had been followed. And what the chief internal auditor then found out was that, look, all the processes on the part of Bank of Uganda had been followed to the dot. And then,
including not what knowing what the payment is for.
based on the transaction details,
Yes.
yeah,
Okay.
because we were given the transaction details.
So Bank of Uganda followed
the transaction details.
the transaction details.
That were received from
I
the.
think what you write to us will say, we followed our procedure, or we follow when we receive such instructions.
Yeah.
Proceed, sir.
Right. So immediately then, based on those recommendations, we did request for a meeting with the PSST to let the PSST, because we got this information on the 8th of October. 9th was a public holiday, but my staff worked around to ensure that they got this information as quickly as possible. Then on the 9th, we put together this information, and I sent a letter to the PSST that we have an urgent matter to discuss.
We shall have a copy of that letter also on the same date.
So we then had a meeting with the PSST, and we agreed that, one, this work was done by Chief Internal Auditor of Bank of Uganda.
Chief Internal Auditor.
Yes, Bank of Uganda. Now we need to get an independent forensic audit of this.
So the Chief Internal Auditor gave you a report?
Yeah, she gave a report to me.
Yes.
Of her findings. I have it.
We shall get a copy on Friday.
Then, based on that,
I write you.
Based on that, we agreed that we would then have a forensic audit by an independent firm. And Bank of Uganda was asked to contract that firm. And then inform the police criminal investigation directorate about this happening. And then, on the part of Bank of Uganda, we had to begin the process of trying to see if we can recover any of this money as quickly as we could before it is drawn down. So those are the three things that we embarked on immediately. So we informed the CID. We informed, then we began the process of contracting the forensic audit. Right? And then also the process of trying to recover. Yes. So our attempts to contact the bank in Japan were not successful because the bank in Japan said, look, the beneficiaries of this payment have given us information that supports the payment, despite the fact that we told them that this is a fraudulent transaction. But they were of the view that they had gotten.
It's a commercial bank in Japan.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we were not able to recover much money. And we were unable to recover any money actually from that bank. Then our attempts, now for the one of the
London
African Development Bank, it actually, we were informed of it after we made the PSST. I don't recall the date very well when we made the PSST, but it was a Monday. A Monday after the independence. But I think the independence was on a Friday, if I recall. But then we made the PST on Monday. So after that meeting, we went back. And then my staff told me, it looks like there's another fraudulent transaction. This time, it was meant to be a payment to the African Development Bank, but it was diverted to a bank in London in favor of MJS International.
In favor?
Of MJS International.
MJS. N.
M for Mary,
yes.
J for Jacob, S for sugar.
International.
Yep. So, again, I did ask the internal auditor to look at whether all the processes in Bank of Uganda had been followed to the dot. And the chief auditor confirmed that as far as the Bank of Uganda is concerned, we followed the procedure that is established between Bank of Uganda and the Ministry of Finance, including the fact that when these payments come, they are processed on the date they are received immediately. But they are not paid until after 2 days. Why? Because we need to go back to the Ministry of Finance that we have processed this payment in favor of the beneficiary, and these are the account details which we are going to pay this money. The service level agreement provides that if there's no response within the 2 days, we go ahead to make the payments. Given the number of payments we make, they're quite substantial. It's only those payments which are not correct that they flag to us. For these 2 payments, we did not get
Any response?
any response.
Was your communication with Minister of Finance in writing?
Yeah, by email.
By email?
Yeah.
Please share with us those emails on the 2 subjects.
So we then contacted the bank in the UK. They asked for certain documents from us, a police report, and then there was an indemnity. Is it called indemnity report?
Okay, it's indemnity.
Yeah, indemnity, which we immediately provided. We contacted the CID. They were very helpful. They gave us that we reported this case to them, and then the indemnity report, we immediately sent it to them.
Is it report or deed? Basically, to indemnify them in the event that they are sued.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's what we did provide. And so they then began to assist us, right? And we were able to, of the $8.596 million, they were able to recover $8.205 million. They first froze it, and then after a few communications here and there, they were able to then to credit back the money to our correspondent bank, and then we got back the money, which we credited back to the consulted fund.
How much have we not recovered on this?
391.
That one had already been taken.
Looks like it was taken away because the bank says, look, this money had been, they cannot get it, so it looks like it was taken. Right. Now the difference between the 8.205 and the 391 are the transaction charges for remitting back the money and wiring it back.
Okay.
So, and that's where it stands at the moment. Now, of course, we have, as a central bank, we were very concerned. There was a lot of negativity in the media that Bank of Uganda had been hacked. Now, Honorable Chair and members of COSASI, for a central bank to be hacked, that is a very, very serious matter.
Yeah.
It's very serious. So it was flying around not only here but also internationally.
Yeah.
And some of our correspondent banks began contacting us because they were saying, how sure are we that we're dealing with it? I mean,
with the right people.
Yeah. So, of course, now we also wanted to make sure that our systems were not hacked. So we did a thorough investigation of our systems. There was nothing whatsoever to show that the systems were hacked. And that's why we came out to tell the public that, look, the Bank of Uganda IT systems were never hacked. There's no evidence whatsoever that the systems were hacked. And also to give...
Actually, to say the loss did not arise out of one, either hacking or negligence.
That's what we were trying to say. Look, because the story out there was that some guys from a certain place of this world, they hacked into the Bank of Uganda systems and took this money in 60 seconds, that kind of thing.
Especially if you are talking about an issue where your supervisees, a number of banks, and I think it's one of the questions, have lost money to hacking. So one would imagine that the central bank has also fallen prey.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, that's why we came out to
Yes.
to tell a bit more of the story. That look, this did not take place in Bank of Uganda per se. We received instructions and followed the processes.
Good.
We paid. The things were not hacked.
You paid on instruction of your client.
Exactly.
Okay.
And now that is where the matter of the investigation is. That is what the Office of the Auditor General is working on to find out that where did the diversion of this money that was meant for the payment of debt service, where exactly did it take place?
Where did these two companies come from?
Where did these two companies come from? But I think they are very much interested in finding out where did the diversion take place. Because the money was meant for debt service payment. So how come that wrong beneficiaries got this money and Bank of Uganda was given instructions to pay this money? So that's where the investigation is focusing on, and how they did it and who did it. And that is what the report that we are waiting for.
So you have not received any preliminary report from CID?
Not from the
Not
Office
from
of
CID,
the,
not from
CID, not from the Auditor General. And we are waiting for that report.
I think it takes time.
Yeah.
We would not have a reason to rush them. It's a big
Chair,
That's a lot of money.
Chair,
Before you come in, don't worry. Let's have these documents, as I've said, by Friday. Honorable, was it Honorable Swambi?
no, it was me, Chair.
Oh, Honorable Mwada.
Yes, sir. But I have just two issues I want clarification. One, he kept referring we, meaning, in my humble opinion, that you were talking about management of the Bank of Uganda under your leadership. Is that correct?
Honorable, I was meaning Bank of Uganda.
So you say we.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this, you don't want to call it a fraud, but this saga or incident happened under your hands and direction.
Under his leadership.
So now the same leadership is conducting the investigations you're talking about before the CID, before all these other organs and the different contacts abroad. Do you have any other authority, whether you are quasi-board or another supervisor from either the Ministry of Finance to handle this matter, either jointly with you or independently? Because I am very uncomfortable seeing you, the tortfeasors, the people in charge of this chaos.
No. Withdraw the word tortfeasors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Honorable Chair, I didn't go to a nursery school. You went to a madrasa, so I don't know.
I'm sorry that I went there.
Yeah, yes. What kind of words should I use to harmonize this?
You see, the word tortfeasors is not even a nursery word. It is a legal term. It means someone who has been confirmed to be culpable.
Okay.
That's why
Honorable
discomfort.
Chair, the people who are close to the issue really handling the investigation. Then the other point to do with Harmony still, you are talking at cross purposes. The Ministry of Finance, and I believe they have a point, they are saying the Auditor General should be the one in charge with the constitutional and legal mandate to handle this matter at that level. And for you insist on appointing a private firm, one without going through procurement or even understanding whether they have the capacity to handle even extraterritorial investigations. So,
Honorable Swami, why don't you ask them about the process of procuring the firm? First, to confirm as a fact that they appointed a particular private firm, or it is Auditor General.
appointing a private firm.
Yeah, so let's ask which firm is that and how.
And for me, actually, I wanted to ask under which mandate because you don't just do things helter-skelter. It's a big problem, by the way. And that is here typical of our, like my mother, peasant mentality. Governor, he say, oh, governor. The issue, governor has to operate under the law. So you tell us that under this specific law, I have the mandate to do this. Don't just say, governor, he say, oh, governor, he say, oh. You know, it has to be really.
The governor actually has not
so the
passed
mandate,
here.
the
governor is seated here.
He's actually before us here under a legal mandate. So the Auditor General should be in charge. Don't say anti-corruption unit of Nakarema. Who is Nakarema under the law? We're having a problem. Honorable Chair and members, specifically, what is the harmonization position on investigations of this kind? Where do you go? Don't just say CID, so and so and so. Then you come up with a report sponsored by the state and brought before us. For us, you tell us the mandate.
Honorable you know, or it is a private audit firm. What is the procurement process used to procure or obtain the services of the auditor? What is the time frame for the audit? The other question as to whether they have the mandate. Of course, Bank of Uganda has the mandate to appoint auditors, like other service providers. The question of competence, I think, is not before us today. Today, we are dealing with facts. What exactly happened? I have not heard about the anti-corruption unit of Nakarema, so that one I cannot put a question. I don't even know whether there is somebody called Nakarema who owns an anti-corruption unit. I know it is some outfit somewhere. I'm sure, and I know it's not within the law, but that's not his, because he has not transacted with that one. So having asked those questions, he will answer. We will go to the Honorable Mwadanku Nyinji.
Yes. I want to understand, what was the role of the board?
Yes.
In clearing these transactions, regardless of how they ended? I want to understand, at what level did the board participate, which you probably was hearing. Secondly, in the normal operations,
I think let me join you.
Yes.
In asking. Suppose the board cannot be involved in bank transactions, but subsequently, have you brought this matter to the attention of the board? And what is the role of the board? Honorable Kunyinji, does that help?
Chair,
Sustained one.
But now on my second one,
yes,
I want to understand, because the Bank of Uganda must have a clear day-to-day operational procedure with the key players. There's a transaction.
Yes.
You have disclosed to us that actually
it was followed.
Money was paid to a wrong entity.
Yes.
Our immediate inquiry would be, was ADB. At what level? And the bank must know at what level that document changed now to another company, another entity. Chair, writing to my question, what if I understand in the chronology of these known payments, because the governor knows that these were payments made for this, who are the key players, officers of the bank, who are involved, because these are public officers, who are involved in this transaction. And
wouldn't that help us if we got the documents first? We looked at them because they will bring us who did what.
From his response, we can know the relevant documents.
No, I have already identified the relevant documents and asked him to deliver them here.
And Chair, Chair, why I'm raising some of these, because we have had also a parallel story that this money.
Parallel from where?
Chair, let me be disclosed because they are here.
No.
Because
if you are not disclosing, no.
Chair.
Wait, Honorable Nkunyenji.
Chair, we are two directors and the staff traveled to Japan to get a share of this money from this bank, and they are saying the money has not been recovered.
Honorable Nkunyenji.
Now, we want to understand whether these directors and staff were in Uganda.
Before you understand.
By the time this money was withdrawn.
Before we understand that,
yes.
Let's understand. You see, the fairness of these processes is integral and is cardinal. One, we cannot import stories we've heard from anywhere and put them on the record of Parliament. We can only agree that, oh, we have heard this outside this meeting. We identify those sources as potential witnesses. Then when we bring them, they give us evidence. When they give us evidence, we have a duty to call back Bank of Uganda and the affected or mentioned directors to come and explain their role. But we will not say we have had parallel stories. We put it here and we use it in these proceedings. I am very comfortable because you said you don't want to mention them here in the presence of these people. I'm very happy with that. I'm sure you being a lawyer, I know why. So let us hear later from you those potential sources, even if it means hearing them in camera. And we get them, but we put it back to Bank of Uganda. So I want to suggest that we sustain that question. What has been the role of the board ever since these events? And trust us, Deputy Governor, when we receive this information, we process it consciously and cautiously. Why you see me very strict on the rules, honorable members, is because you're dealing with the central bank. And what we discuss here has an effect on many sectors relating to the economy of this country. And please trust me where I'm leading you. Honorable Martin Muzale.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, you earlier said that we are, and this is what is exactly happening. Mr. Chairman, when you go to our ordinary banks to pick money, at times even without just a national ID, they refuse to give you money. Even by a change of just one letter in your name, they will say this is not you. I imagine a central bank claiming that we paid it to a wrongful person. I don't understand. Mr. Chairman, can they explain to us the procedures for approval of any payment in the central bank? That's number one. Secondly, Mr. Chairman, if the governor, as of today, he still doesn't know the people in the Ministry of Finance who approved, who sent these documents, and he's just saying that I need to refer to the document first. It came from the Auditor General's office. Oh, this is an issue that every Ugandan is trying to discuss. How can someone run away with over 60 billion? Because that is according to what is in the gallery, 60 billion. Now, for the governor to come here up to date, an issue that happened in September, and he's saying he doesn't know the person who cleared this, who sent the document, it's very unfortunate. Thirdly, Mr. Chairman, if they say the banker in Japan claim that the documents they have are genuine and legal in nature, have they shared with you those documents? Mr. Chairman, in addition to the documents you've requested, we need those documents.
I think first you need to know whether they have shared with them, so that you do not make an order in vain when I actually do not have it. And especially when I'm talking about somebody who is not cooperating. Did they give you any document? In one word, yes or no? No, you put it on the microphone.
A bank cannot communicate in a vacuum. You are on record saying they responded and communicated to you. Give the committee any document they used to communicate to you with the details.
I think that's a good one, but you do not begin with an objection.
The governor is very tricky.
No. Yeah. And please, receive the witness with open hands, with an objective mind. I do not agree with you, and I overrule that the governor is very tricky. The committee has not come to that conclusion.
Yeah.
No, listen. I sustain the question of give us a copy of their response. That one is very okay. Honorable Mzale, proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, if indeed it's true that they have not received any document from the Japan.
They have received a document saying we will not, which he's going to share with us.
Now, we need to be guided, Mr. Chairman, from the governor as to whether this bank is not governed by the international laws that manages banks. Because if one bank can stand somewhere and say, for us, we can't give you documents, do we have regulations that govern banks across the globe, or banks can act in autonomy so that when something happens in housing finance today, they can say for us, we can't give you this document?
Honorable Mzale, you have a legitimate question. Number one, you're dealing outside the jurisdiction. So Bank of Uganda cannot compel them. Two, banks by their nature hide under confidentiality. And you know some of these questions you're asking, I'm happy you're raising them and giving them heads up, are questions that will be answered by looking at the documents. Because the document, you see, the nature and operation of a bank is that when your client gives you instructions, pay Martin Mzale, your duty is to pay. Honorable Swami used to teach us that it is actually an instruction, and he himself having been a banker. So before I move very fast to get hard on Bank of Uganda, I want to look at the client's instructions. I also want to know the nature of operations of Bank of Uganda. Because in this day and era of money laundering, even if it is me, and I'm paying Didas in Kurunziza, my commercial bank will ask me, purpose of the transaction. So I will want to know from your correspondences whether you asked what the purpose of the transaction was relating to these two. And we are going to resolve that, how to get to that today in this meeting. Honorable Itungo?
Thank the Deputy Governor for finally answering the concern of the committee. Chair, I just have two issues. Issue number one is about the safety measures after this incident. What safety measures have we put in place, especially on the instruction from the Minister of Finance on clearing some of these transactions? I'm interested in that. The safety measures he has put in place since this incident. The rest one, Chair, you had asked a very simple question about how much money have we lost and how much have we recovered. So that we are
he answered it. What they did not recover from London is plus some ancillary expenses, charges, back charges for transferring etc. Yes?
That's all,
Are you
Chair.
done? Deputy Chair?
You did a thorough check of your systems in the central bank. Do you have a report on this investigation or the thorough check of your systems? Do you have a report on this from your IT department? And secondly, what's the name of the commercial bank in Japan? You mentioned? Yes. Okay.
He mentioned the bank in Japan, MJS International.
No, that is London.
Sorry, MUG, yes, MUG. Yes.
Okay, and lastly, you are getting the information about the faults the central bank from external sources, not within the management of Bank of Uganda, because everything you say, we are not, we are told. So don't you think that as the deputy governor, you are not in control of the central bank, or you are not in position to know what is taking place in the institution? That's our Bank of Uganda, because everything you are getting the information of all these faults from the external sources, not within the management of the central bank. Don't you think that there is a problem within the management of the central bank, of the Bank of Uganda, by yourself? Thank you, Chair.
A firm to do the forensic audit is still on. My worry is, one, by the time the procurement process takes place, the money will be finished. This is just a simple matter, Mr. Chairman.
Which money will be finished?
The people will have shared it.
Actually, the report, the auditor is not auditing to recover the money. He's auditing to find where the money went.
But, Mr. Chairman, for me to understand who approved it, who did what, I don't need to do a forensic audit.
But Honorable Muzali, you know, I don't know where you are taking the...
Mr. Chairman, we are adding cost to another cost.
The horse and the cart, which comes first? We have asked for the documents. I have told you that one is going to be resolved in this meeting.
Okay, Mr.
Why are you
Chairman
jumping the gun? It will shoot you.
Okay.
Switch off the microphone. The older one with the salongo.
The order solo is where the instructions came from. Lastly,
We know.
we have a problem of not having a full governor. Don't you think it's one of the things that are affecting the operations of the central bank?
Yes, whereas we traversed that one, the question of governor, we did not get an answer or ask on the impact of the absence of the governor. I know Kosase has an answer to that, but I want him to answer it, because you never know. I've changed.
I keenly listened to the deputy governor. In his explanation, he did say that the money was for debt servicing, and it was specifically World Bank and the ADB. Now, I'm aware that the World Bank, the coordinate with the Ministry of Finance, they have their coordinators with the country, and even African Development Bank. They have the office here. And he also said this money was not, this fraud was not done using AI or hacking. It was arranged properly. In your submission, you've not, as efforts to recover the money, you have not put in the body responsible for money internationally, that's the FI. That is the body responsible. I'm seeing the CID, I'm seeing so and so, but internationally, I sit on an international body that is looking at AI and many issues to do in the world. And I've just been in a meeting in Argentina over what happened to Uganda here, and it's top on the agenda. Yes. Now, why is the FI in this? Where I don't see it, Mr. Chair. They have not brought.
Why is what?
FIA. Why is it? Because it's the one responsible.
Why is it what?
It's not involved. They have not brought it on board. And I know there are the people who can arrest this situation, because they have conduct everywhere in the world. They listen. The governor knows that, because what I know, you are in the money, but me on the other side. Now, that is what can recover the money. I know London, the money can be easy.
Honorable Kasolo is not a witness. Don't ask him questions.
I know money can be recovered in the UK, but yes. Japan, because of its structure, which I do, you know it very well, which I cannot disclose. It will not be easy.
Honorable Kasolo, you are ruled out of exist anyway in real life. Ghosts. And you know, ghosts by their nature cannot be found, cannot be seen. Were these companies born and do they exist in the first place? Please answer those questions and then we shall guide on how we proceed.
Office of the Auditor General conducting these investigations, and we're waiting for that report to come out. And then the audit firm that we contracted at the Ministry of Finance and the Bank of Uganda is a local audit firm here, right, called PwC. And they did their work for our own purposes. But ultimately, it is the report of the Auditor General that we are waiting for. And then the role of the board, you see, this is an operational matter. So it's management that has got to ensure, or that's responsible for these operations. But when this incident happened, we did brief the board on what happened and what we were doing about it. And I recall in their oversight role, they gave us some guidance as well. So that's the role of the board in this. And we've kept briefing the board on the developments that are taking place. And then we have engaged Financial Intelligence Authority. When this incident happened, we wrote to them. When we recovered the money, we wrote to them as well. And I've been in touch with the ED of the Financial Intelligence Authority through telephone, finding out how far they have gone in trying to recover this money. You're right that FIA is well placed, particularly where we cannot compel a bank outside our jurisdiction to act the way we want. Under the Anti-Money Laundering and Combating of Financing of Terrorism, FIA is most competent because these are proceeds of crime. Fraudulent transactions fall under that. So that's why Financial Intelligence Authority is involved. But we are in touch with them and they're aware of it. And then BOU relying on external sources. Look.
No, I think there is a question which was asked by both Honorable Kasolo and Martin Muzale relating to remedies under international commercial law.
Honorable Chair was saying that as Bank of Uganda to compel another a country in a different jurisdiction to act on our request is very difficult. That's why we have engaged the Financial Intelligence Authority over this. In the case of UK, we did conduct the financial...
Before that, I think you need to get the question. You see, equally, FIA can only investigate. Of course, they also have a network in relation to money laundering and stuff. The question that Honorable Muzale asked you, and partly asked by Honorable Kasolo, of course, he asked the Iki way, remains as Bank of Uganda. Who lost your money? Or as a country? And we know that this bank in Japan is acting illegally because whether locally or internationally, once you receive an alert that that money was wired fraudulently, the first thing you do is to freeze. The question from these two members and now from me, have you taken any step?
Chair, yes, we did take a step. We told them that these proceeds are fraudulent proceeds. But then they claimed to us that these guys have provided us sufficient evidence to the fact that they had delivered a service to the government of Uganda. They are claimed to have produced the documents supporting that. So the bank argues that based on that, they had no... Yeah.
I am talking, I think, Mr. Cruz, you understand what I'm asking. You see, if you have acted illegally, you have retained and actually passed on my money to a fraudulent person despite my alert. Do I have recourse under international law as Bank of Uganda or as Uganda? Have you explored that?
Okay, Chair, let me give you the case of England. We did contact the Financial Services Authority when this matter was happening, that this bank in the UK, right, has received proceeds which are, fraudulently, right? So we want you to prevail on them. Then they say, look, let's give them about 6 weeks to act, provide them with all the documents that they are required, and then we revisit the matter after 6 weeks. But then they were able to pay back the money before the 6 weeks expired from that day. Now, what I need to check is the one of Japan. I mean, because a lot has been going on, but I want to believe that we contacted also the supervisory authority in Japan.
Do you intend to sue them? Now let me speak it the Chiganda way. Margaret, get the microphone. You're my witness now.
Explore the administrative options, yes, the administrative avenues which are now being explored. It's only when you see that they have completely failed that you now resort to litigation. We haven't yet gotten there. Thank you.
Chair, administrative step taken under such circumstance.
Most obvious.
I was citing one. Secondly, Chair, I've been looking at the Bank of Uganda Act, specifically Section 4. Section 4, paragraph I, that the Bank of Uganda shall be the clearing house for checks and other financial instruments or transactions. Now, we are in a dilemma. The Bank of Uganda, that will be the clearing house for every transaction. In a fraudulent way, paid our money to non-existing recipients.
That is not true. It is not a finding of fact.
Chair,
you see, we have not come to a finding that Bank of Uganda acted fraudulently. Number two, we have not found as fact that actually these are non-existing companies. That's what he's about to answer.
I take your advice, Chair.
No, it's not advice.
So now,
no, it's not advice. It's now a ruling.
I agree with your ruling. Now that money was lost, now these are suspicious transactions, which the Bank of Uganda is disowning. And it ought to be the clearing house for every transaction. We want to understand how safe are transactions from now other banks and other transactions and subsequent transactions in a situation where there is no administrative step being taken.
There is already a question on safety measures raised by the Honorable Itungo.
I actually raised it, and he skipped the question.
No, he's still answering.
He dodges the questions.
No, that's not true. Not ended. Let's finish this round of questions. Relating to what has been asked? Yes.
Mr. Chairman, the Deputy Governor was trying to explain.
No, he was explaining. He was not trying.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, because I was not convinced, that's why I'm trying to use that word. Plus the legal officer. Mr. Chairman, the legal officer has all remedies. But since...
Bank of Japan, a bank in Japan.
Okay, bank in Japan. Is there any other information you received from that?
Financial Intelligence Authority, and we have not yet got to a place where we have taken a decision that we are going to sue the bank in Japan. So I would request that maybe when he completes with what administrative steps he has taken, then you'll be able to evaluate whether they are adequate. Thank you.
Well,
to the governor.
The governor is still answering.
Yes, mine.
But you asked him questions. Please hold your fire.
Just
proceed, Deputy Governor.
Yeah, my concern was, do we have an international body that regulates banks? That where one bank is actually not complying with another bank in another country, it can actually act as an umbrella.
Not cooperating.
Yes, that's what
to
we
prevent
want.
crime. Is there a forum?
Chairman, to the best of my knowledge, there is no such a forum. We have only an organization that sets the standards for how banks should be conducting themselves in terms of supervision and regulation.
And when those standards are breached?
No, this is now implementation at the country level, all right? But when a crime such as this happens, there is another body that takes it over, and this is the Financial Intelligence Authority. Because now this is something criminal, right? It's bordering on anti-money laundering, combating financing of terrorism.
Have you involved the Central Bank of Japan?
I need to check my communication, but we had actually wanted to do that. But then we were told that it's a supervisory body, but I need to check my communication.
You see, the central bank of every country,
to
the extent that I know,
plays
regulatory and supervisory role. Is that not true?
Not always.
Okay.
Sometimes there is a
With respect to Japan, what is your finding?
I think there's a supervisory authority outside the central bank.
Outside the central bank?
Yeah.
Have you engaged it?
That's what I need to check.
No.
But Chair,
I need to check on that.
Honorable members,
Chair, this governor is just dodging.
Listen, he's not dodging. Deputy Governor, you know, in this committee, I'm your shield. You have seen how I absorb shock. I'm your shock absorber. And I have done it effectively, unapologetically. On this one, I am allowing the spear not to go through me. Because you're talking about these millions of dollars, the magnitude, the attention it attracted, you cannot tell me that you do not know whether contract has been made with any supervisory body that supervises a commercial bank to say, for me, when I have a problem against a commercial bank, I've been running to Bank of Uganda and saying, this person is about to transfer my huge sums of money, obtained illegally, fraudulently. Please help and freeze this money. But you hear the commercial bank refuses to cooperate. You do not run to supervisor for 2 months. Is it 2 months? For 2 months since September, really. Or you do not know whether actually that step was taken. Who is supposed to have taken that step before we proceed on anything?
Chair, one thing that I would want to assure you is that once we got that information that the transactions had been backed by certain activities or some documents, and from the Financial Intelligence Authority that the money had been run down, because they got a statement from the bank that the money had been run down. So now we said, what is the best thing to do? Do we pursue it as a criminal thing now, since there's no money to be recovered?
Why is there no money to be recovered?
Because they run down the balances from what?
No. You see, there is possibility for recovery. What happens? Supposing the bank transferred the money after knowing that actually it is fraudulent. Would you, as a lawyer, fold your hands, or you have recourse against the bank?
And Chair,
you look for recourse.
And the recourse that we have here is the Financial Intelligence Authority is following up this matter, because that's really under their mandate, that this money was moved from Japan to another country. Okay? So, Financial Authority is best fitted, has the competence to follow that, rather than the Central Bank of Japan. Because if the money has moved out of Japan to another country, even the Central Bank of Japan will have its own challenges in following up that money. So now, like we're trying to say that if there's no cooperation from that bank in Japan, even after Financial Intelligence Authority has done what it can, then the litigation after that we are thinking of will take place. But I'm very sure of the one in the UK. Very sure.
We are still talking about Margaret's administrative remedies. The administrative remedies ordinarily would have been, the bank has been run down, as you're saying, the account is dry, has gone to another country. That's not a question I want us to subject to public scrutiny. It is a question that you will have to answer somewhere, somehow, not on camera.
Information.
Yes, information.
Yes. Because you come before committee and introduce yourself as the governor. Ask you, what have you done to recover this money? You appear as if you don't recall or remember until you are pushed to answer. We have all reasons to believe that you are lying and deceiving this committee deliberately. These are my opinions. But since the chair is no longer shielding you on this, I laid it that
the law will continue to shield the witness.
So, Chair,
just switch off that microphone, Mr. Nkurunziza. Since you were giving me information, Honorable Kunyinji Mwada.
Chair, we must also interrogate.
But you see, I am the person you have given information. I have received it. I am not grateful. The reason I am not grateful is because what you promised to give me as information is your judgment and an opinion. I accordingly disallow it. I also expunge it. I expunge it for the following reasons. One, you said you do not know why he has not resigned. Now, you cannot be giving me information when you actually do not know. That's number one. Number two, your explanatory note to that is prejudicial and judgmental. We are now on fact-finding. We are not on judgment. You cannot write a judgment when you are receiving information. Number two, the witness who is before us is not an accused person. You know, we have not interrogated his instructions as a banker. No, I will not receive it. We are not talking, I will not take it. Listen to me first. I want to guide the proceedings of this committee so that we are well aligned. Kindly, honorable members, do not bring in matters that are prejudicial. Do not bring in matters that are condemning the bank and throwing the bank in bad light without sufficient information. We do not have sufficient information. Supposing we receive information from the documents which I have already ordered for and where I'm going to make an amendment in my earlier guidance, that actually they were instructed. You see, when a bank is instructed, it has no power to refuse the instructions of the client. The bank will only be at fault if it skipped an essential step in the processing of the instructions. That is the matter we are inquiring into. So we do not even know who is guilty, who is culpable. At the end of this inquiry, we shall know who did what, who faltered somewhere. Now, don't throw this country into a crisis. You're already grappling with the absence of the governor. At least you have someone to grill. Then you want him to go away. The following day, if there is another problem, who are you going to call? So, honorable members, I received information from the Honorable Muzar.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, the information I wanted to give you.
You still want to give?
Person.
On mobile money?
On mobile money. The first step she did was to call the person. She had sent the money. That this money was not meant for you. Please, can you return it? When the person resisted, she went to the mobile, she looked for the
center.
For the agent. That's the center. I have sent my money to a wrong person, this number. They immediately blocked that.
Yes.
Now, the reason why I'm giving you this information is my central bank here, well aware that they sent money to a wrong person, contacted the same person. The person refused to cooperate. But
No.
I've not run to the person.
Actually, they contacted that person's banker.
Yes.
They have not talked to this company.
Now, they have not moved to the regulator. That's where my problem is.
Okay.
If my mother who never went to school, at least she has that knowledge that if the person is not
your mother without that money remained broke. So she had to take all efforts. This one.
Now, in the Bank of Uganda, you are in a comfortable zone. That this is small money, we don't need to cry for it. That's why even the deputy governor is telling us, up to now, he doesn't know the name of the person who cleared this money from the Ministry of Finance. I think he's preoccupied with so many other issues which are more important than this money.
Are you bothered about that when we are going to get that person? We are going to find out who that person is.
My chairman, the reason why I'm still bothered is the volume of money involved.
Well, the
governor is not showing any sign of seriousness in the recovery of this money.
No.
That's why I'm bothered.
He has shown the signs of seriousness within his reach. Whether you would have done something different is not reason to prejudge him. Okay? Honorable members, let me ask the governor and his team to retreat a bit to where they came from, where we advised them to sit, and staff. The others, no, don't leave your cameras.
Chair, isn't it proper that our CID accompany the deputy governor?
It is not proper. It is not proper.
He may forget that.
Governor, where is the police? Please just retreat a bit.
They decrypt it and process it automatically through the Bank of Uganda banking system, what we call the BBS. Now, that file generates payment information. That from what they have decrypted, the information of the payer, the payee, the account details and everything, it decrypts them into an Excel file. Now, that Excel file is then sent back to finance. It is a straight-through process. There's no manual interference. It just comes through, decrypted by the BPS, and then it generates an Excel file, which is sent back to the Ministry of Finance almost instantly. Now, the purpose for sending it back to the Ministry of Finance is for them to verify the information that has been sent to Bank of Uganda regarding the payer, the payee, the bank information, and all those contacted with. And given the service level agreement that we have with the Ministry of Finance, that you need to cross-check this file and make sure that the information contained there is correct. And for external payments, they take 2 days. Once the payment the payment process is not paid immediately. It takes 2 days waiting for any confirmation from the Ministry of Finance whether we have the right details. So then, once there is no issue from the Ministry of Finance, on day 2, we pay. The system automatically pays on day 2. And that's how the international transactions are conducted. And then beyond that, there's also what we call the confirmation and the reconciliation. After we've done the payments, we generate all the payments that have been made, all right? And then this is sent back to the Ministry of Finance, that these are the payments that we've made on this day for your purposes and for your reconciliation. So Ministry of Finance receives things on a daily basis, daily statements for purposes of reconciliation. So that's how the process works. It is all automated in what they call straight-through processing. There's no human involvement in there.
No. The process, as explained, is the process. Why I agree with it is for two reasons. One, because you have said so. Two, because I don't know. What is not correct is that there is no human intervention. There must be human intervention at the end of the day. Because you see, let me tell you, you will never explain and convince me that I should arrest the computer in Bank of Uganda. If I am to arrest, I will arrest you. You lead me to the right person. He leads me to the right person until I get the person who actually does the verification. The computer doesn't do the verification. And my understanding is that in a transaction, especially of this magnitude, I studied banking, not as banking, but at least the law and the practice, as written by Professor Tumwine Mkuu. I'm sure even if you had lost left, it is a book that you read, or you read on a daily. There must be that particular person who opens his computer and says, oh, how about this? You cannot leave it to the computer. Then when you send the other side for verification, there is another person who sits behind his or her computer and does the verification. When I was growing up, I hear at some point people's salaries were delayed, and then they say it is because of Forex. Somebody ordered Forex. Now, for me, I have since learned from that gentleman that beyond Forex, there is a human being. That's why, from Bank of Uganda, I want to interact with that human being, who I have now been told is Mr. Jacob Okolot, and his entire team tomorrow here at 10 o'clock. I am amending my earlier guidance on bringing the documents on Friday. Tomorrow, as you come with Mr. Okolot and his entire team, please come with the documents.
Chair.
Yes?
Chair, in addition to the documents, does not operate with robots. There must be staff. And Chair, when I look at the documents before us, it doesn't disclose as a committee. Let's get a full record of all the staff of Bank of Uganda and their roles. Because it appears the Deputy Governor thinks that it is computer work and robots, yet we pay full money in terms of salaries. Maybe they are not even working and reporting. So let's get the full list of the staff of Bank of Uganda, their roles, and their roles, the names and their roles. So that as he answers, we also cross-check whether this category actually exists, and possibly even their performance record. Maybe they are the only earned salary.
No, Honorable, I heard from the governor that these are computer-generated information. He can bring the computer that did the input, that did the verification, so we shall arrest that one.
Okay. Actually, no, I will issue a warrant of arrest against the computer, but only when I've from the front of the human faces.
Mr. Chairman, as
But
my last,
so,
the budget of the estate is missing out, so we can also bring it.
Budget
Your
of
document from page 81, it's not there, to 84.
Okay.
And that's the budget, you can come with it.
By the way, Where is the document that, for mine? Governor, is this document? This
one goes up to 27 pages. I don't know which document you are referring to.
is that a report one of the documents that were given to us?
Yeah, we had sent it to you earlier on.
Is this the one you're talking about? Which one is that? Where is it? Where is it? I want to be sure that behind the Auditor General's report.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Page 1 is about a report of the Auditor General of Parliament.
Okay, okay. We'll get it. With respect to the question by Honorable Mwad, I wanted to do an addition before I guide.
Chair, I wanted a clarification. In transaction, there is no human interaction. We need that clarification. That what do you mean? Because when you receive human interaction, what do you mean?
Yeah. In terms of decrypts and then the Bank of Uganda banking system. Uganda payment system generates the payments. But certainly to decrypt, someone has got the keys for decrypting. But in terms of generating the payments from the encrypted file, I'm not aware of any human interaction.
Yeah, Chair, I think, Chair.
Yes, yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Chair, the restructuring report, human resource restructuring report, it may not be one of the issues we can see in terms of governance and even the bit of bubbles and quarrels and conflict within.
I think
so we need that report. The other report, I think, organized by Keep It.
You cannot ask
Margaret tomorrow, just for our perusal.
Which document for?
We're talking about restructuring after complaints within and investigation, and there's a report.
Remember, he's referring to at the start of the restructuring exercise, we did contract a firm, KPMG, who prepared a report and made some recommendations. But in implementing those recommendations, there were some downsides to it. And that was the time when it didn't have a board. So now when the board came in, their first assignment was to address those issues, the complaints that had been raised. And they instructed management to take the lead. So management, because when we got that report earlier on, we formed two committees, the complaints handling committee to receive all the complaints from staff regarding that process. And then also the appeals committee. So now what happened, we got recommendations from the complaints handling committee and from the appeals committee, which were then shared with the incoming board together with the recommendations. And then the incoming board then requested management that based on these recommendations, can you go and make some proposals on how to best undertake this restructuring? And indeed, that's what management did. We put actually a steering committee to take into account all those, and then discuss at management, brought to the board. The board then okayed the structure that came out of management efforts to address the earlier complaints. Now, once that was done, we had a structure which the board approved, and that's now the structure that we have been populating through the various interviews and what have you. And we're now at the tail end of it. We've done many interviews, we've recruited and filled up most of those positions. So the report that I think we need to look at is the report that was approved by the board that we're implementing now.
I think I have understood the context. Let's look at that very report you're talking about, approved by the board, and the KPMG report, because I think they will give us insight for the member to be able to be brought up to speed. Honorable Itungo?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chair, I need your guidance on tomorrow's meeting. That we need Mr. Jacob Porot from Bank of Uganda. Is it too late to get the person from the Ministry of Finance who approves?
Who do you know?
Size?
Who do you know in Ministry of Finance that you want?
Chair, they can guide us.
They can't guide me.
Who does that in the
I will not allow them to guide me on which witness to call. Proceeding with them will give us who to interact with. I don't think we are yet there. Opalot?
That Jacob is not around.